Morning, friends. It's been raining all morning, so I'm in the house this morning. I'm in my kitchen, and thought I'd share a few thoughts from here. Try to avoid the rain. You know, when I started reading the Bible, I was 35 years old when I opened up the Bible for the first time. I'd read these stories, just amazing things. I remember Daniel in Daniel chapter 6. He was thrown to the lions. Incredible story. You know, you read in Daniel chapter 6, he would rather die than to dishonor God. When he's getting ready to be tossed into the lion's den, Darius the king, he said, Daniel 6:16, "Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee." Daniel went in and he came back out. Now, Daniel 6 is the testimony of what God did for Daniel. Revelation 12, verse 11, "They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and loved not their life unto the death." You can love something more than your life, and Daniel did. Amazing testimony. I guess it's 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. "God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love." And evidently, there's a lot of power in love. Daniel loved God more than he loved his life, and that was power. That's the kind of power we need. You know, I don't need to be able to lift a lot of weight or be able to run a marathon. The power I need is the kind that would heal my home, that would give me steadfastness, it would give me stability in a world gone crazy. So this morning, a few thoughts about the power of love. You know, this is a picture of my wife, and my wife and me. I took this yesterday, and she's a really good wife. She's the best wife in the world. Proverbs 19:14, "A prudent wife is from the Lord." Proverbs 18:22, "He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing." So my wife is, she's a good thing, right from the Lord. You know, my wife in the garden, I see her doing things. I see her plowing by hand. She has this like little hand plow. She just plows with it. It's amazing to watch her.
Good exercise.
And then I watch her tilling. We have this big tiller. She pushes the tiller. She's down there measuring out the tomatoes. She's pushing the wheelbarrow. She's really working hard. But you know, to her, it's not hard work, because she loves what she's doing. Now that's the power we're talking about, the power that can turn drudgery and labor into love, into joy.
It's hot out here.
It can turn a curse into a blessing. So my wife loves to work in the garden. It's a different experience because of the motive power in her heart. Now, almost 30 years ago, I was helping with the care of a man. I was on the staff of a hospital. It was a mission hospital. And at night, the evenings, I would spend the evenings 2 nights a week with an elderly man. I would care for him. I would give him a massage, turn him into bed, give him the urinal, different things. And it was the first 2-3 months there, I was tired in the mornings, because I'd get up and then I'd go to my position, my work in the hospital, and I would come in about 7:30, 8, and I'd leave. His wife would come in about 4:30 to relieve me. Then I'd go home, eat breakfast, and go to work. And I found that as I was laying there sometimes, and he'd ring the bell every couple of hours. He had a little bell. He'd ring it. I'd get up. I'd turn him into bed, and I'd look at my watch, and I was sort of waiting for 4:30 to come. But you know, after a couple of months, I no longer looked at my watch. I no longer was anxious to get home, get some breakfast, and get to work. Something had changed. What had changed is I began to love this man. And I tell you, love makes all the difference in the world. Because without it, what do you have? In Proverbs 23, verse 26, Solomon writes, "My son, give me your heart." And of course, you can't steal the heart. You can't buy the heart. It has to be willingly given. And without the heart, a husband and wife relationship, without the heart, what do they have? In Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. The Lord was willing to give his life for his bride, his wife, the church. And then he asked me to do the same for mine. Now, that's the motive power of love. I mean, without that, how can a man ever lay his life down for his wife? John 15:13. Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his, well, friends certainly, but for his wife. And if I didn't have my wife's heart, if she were a great cook, great housekeeper, great with the bookkeeping, great with everything, but no heart, then it's like being married to a laptop computer, an automaton. There's no heart in the relationship. This is power to make a man happy and a woman very happy. And there's a nice, now regarding giving the heart, of course, you give your heart to somebody and you hope they'll respond by giving their heart to you. That's the husband-wife relationship. Now, sometimes you give your heart and you don't receive love in return. Well, friends, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 15, Paul said, "I am willing to spend and be spent for you." Yeah, you need a few dollars? Here, let me give it to you. You need some help around the house? Let me give it to you. You need a ride down to 42nd Street? Let me give it to you. I'm willing to spend and be spent for you. And then he said, but the more I love you, and more, and even if you love me less and less, I'll still love you more and more. You love me less and less, I'll love you more and more. My love for you, the power working in my heart, my love for you is not based on your response to me. Acts 20:35, it's more blessed to give than to receive. My dear friends, you may not be receiving love, but if you're giving it, you got the better part. Now, first step to having this power, right? John 1, verse 12, to many as received him. Now let me back up to verse 11. He came into his own, Christ, he came into his own, and his own received him not. Now when the Lord came, he came as the God of love. 1 John 4:8, 1 John 4:16, it says God is love. He came to his own, and his own received him not. And then verse 12, as many as did receive him, he gave power to be sons of God. And that's what Daniel was. In Daniel chapter 6, he had power to be a son of God. And you say, well, I want this kind of power. Well, dear friends, it is ours for the asking. It's a free gift. In fact, you can't buy it, right? You can't buy it. You have to, it's unattainable. It's unreachable. But it's a free gift of God from his right hand to your heart. Now, somebody says, well, how do you you can't measure that. Oh, yes, you can. You can measure that kind of love. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. The more you love, the more you give. God loved all, so he what? Gave all. Romans 8:32, he that spared not his own son. He gave everything because he loved with all his heart. Now he says, my son, give me your heart. He can't force us because love is a choice. If he forced us, then we just lost our ability, our value as free moral agents. So the power of love, I want it working in my heart this morning. And then that's what I need. I need power. I need the motive of love. Because really, there are only three motives, really three general great motives in the world. Peter talks about that. 1 Peter 5, verse 2. He's talking about what you need, the kind of motive power you need to be a leader in God's church. And he says, not for filthy lucre. Okay, that's money, right? A man being paid a bribe, that's not going to do it. That does not provide power. If you're being paid to serve in a relationship, no. not by filthy lucre, not by constraint. Now, constraint means force. They built the pyramids because the Egyptian taskmasters had whips over the slaves, so they built the pyramids. And my friends, force will build a pyramid, and filthy lucre will build cars in a car factory. But it will not give power for a man to be a faithful husband, a faithful friend, a faithful church member, and a faithful son of God. It's lacking. So these three motives. Oh, and then he said of a willing mind, a willing spirit, a readiness to give, a willingness to open your heart and give. The three motives. Force doesn't work. I was robbed in an elevator in Beijing, China. Had two men and a woman walk into the elevator with me. I was on the bottom floor in the airport. As we were going up the elevator, lady reached out and hit the emergency stop button on the elevator. The two men turned to me, she turned to me, and they robbed me in the elevator. I gave them all my money, which was only $20. They didn't get much from me. I gave them all my money. But I tell you, friends, I weighed out my life versus my money, and I gladly gave them my money. But that was fear, right? People will do almost anything for fear. They will. To save their life, they'll do just about anything unless they're motivated by love. Ask Daniel, right into the lion's den, motivated by this heartfelt love for God, willing to die rather than dishonor God, willing to die rather than dishonor my wife or my home or my family or my church. The other motive, right? Filthy lucre. You know, the prostitute. You can pay a prostitute and you buy the body, but you don't have their mind. You don't have their heart. You don't have anything. When Moses is writing in Genesis 2:24, these two, a man's going to leave his mother and father, cleave unto his wife, these two shall become one flesh. Now, there is a union in the marriage, right? You have the physical, the spiritual, the mental. There's a complete union. But the one of most value is the spiritual. It's not the physical. The physical can be bought, but the spiritual must be given. That's the power of love. In a loveless home, if your home's not a home, it's a house. You can live in a golden palace and have a house and not have a home. If you have a home, what makes it a home is the hearts being joined of the people that are residing in the home. My wife and I, a long time ago, my wife and I lived in a Ford station wagon. We moved out to the country building a house. That was a nice little home, you know. My wife and I, right now, as I speak, I'm in a little cabin out in western Tennessee up in the rolling hills. You know, it's not a palace. It's just a small little humble abode. But I tell you what, it is a home. I come into my little home, I felt like I have just gone to heaven. My wife, her heart is mine. My heart is hers. And that makes a powerful statement for what God can do in your life, because it was not always like that. My wife and I struggled the early years of our marriage. We've been married 41 years. We struggled the early years of our marriage. You know, what we were lacking, I think we had an affection. We had a shallow love. But that deep, abiding love that only God can give, it was absent. And when we got that, there was a night and day difference in our home life. So this morning, what we need is power, the power of love. And it's free for the asking. Lord, give me that love, because you said in James 1:17, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights. And with you, there's no variableness, neither shadow nor turning. So I pray for the good gift this morning. I mean, maybe it's the best gift of all. It's the love of Christ in my heart. And it's free for the asking. Now, he died on the cross to reveal it. But now that I see it, it's free for the asking. And I can walk today as a son of God with the power of God, the love of God in my heart and in my soul. Behold what manner of love, 1 John 3:2. Behold what manner of love the Father has given unto us, that we shall be called the sons and daughters of God. Brothers and sisters, have a blessed day. May God be with you. May your life be filled with the power of love, the motive that leads to heaven.